Yeah, there's two buttons. In fact, I added a background here, slightly a kind of elevated material is already there. On the top, there are two buttons are there. If you click on the button, see that the click itself looks as if I am pressing a metal surface. If I touch on the edge, some sort of different effect. If I touch in the middle, a different effect. On the extreme right, it's slightly a different effect. It's just nothing to do with your programming thing. It's a kind of theme being adapted uh, as a default theme adapted for Android devices 5.0 onwards, but support package gives you the ability for lower end devices as well. But it's not pretty important at this point because the focus is to not to learn the material design in detail at this point, because if possible we'll adapt it. But I still want to keep it. So material design, from my point of view, there's going to be some sort of slightly elevated edges, background surfaces. If you notice, it looks as if some sort of material slightly having a kind of a thicker surface. So on the top, everything is maintained. So I just want to have that alone, and plus an adaptable design like action bar, unique icons, and all the stuff. I want to have it in my application. Second, this application should work in such a way uh, most of the parts should be reused. So I may be using a fragments a number of times and along with the conventional activities. The first part I want to start with the UI designing so that at least the starting point we could come into a conclusion. And this project is also going to have a testing phase. The quality we will make sure we'll test the application using unit testing. Then we'll, if at all a bugs or anything being raised or test cases, if we try, if possible, if we get a time, because that ultimate aim is to finish the project as soon as possible. So the testing phase may come once we have a alpha release or beta release being done. Beta release considered to be a slightly a stable one, but alpha release, the developer preview, a buggy one, maybe some sort of do's and don'ts may carry. Being most of the components may not be ready, but few parts would be functioning. So there will be a string attached to it. Hey, don't try to press this button. You do up to this level only, things will work. So kind of an alpha release or a developer preview. A beta release still a developer preview, but mostly fully functioning one. When the beta release is done, we'll start releasing the release candidates. Release candidates means ready to go out, but still released towards limited people, so that the common users such as not the developer along with the other people also will start using the application. When release phase goes successful, the final stable product will be released. So this is the stage we are going to do. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to do these things, but this is how the software development happens. So in this case, I may or may not use all the phases. Right now I'm going to start my SMSReplier version 1.0. Let's see how things goes on, and accordingly we end up doing various addition to it. So at the end we'll have everything done, including icons, theming, buttons, and specific coloring, along with the feature what we were talking yesterday. Let me go ahead. So a blank activity. Let it be a main activity itself. Let it be main activity. Just become a convention now. In my understanding, most of the apps project, especially Android apps project, what your manager considers is going to be a short-term one. It's not going to be a long-term one. I really don't have any idea why they classify this kind of apps development into a short-term one. I really don't have an idea. But it has to be given the full focus as like conventional projects, the enterprise application projects your company doing. So it depends on the companies to company. They have their own policies on how they do that application development. What I'm going to take is a very standardized one. So maybe your company may be adopting a different standard. Different standard in the sense it may skip certain steps. Sometimes you may not be even getting a design document. I'm not sure. In fact, I haven't given you, but I will give because it's my project. But when I give my project to study, to deliver, I'll give all the required things. You will have the documents, design phases, guidelines, rules, do's, don'ts, and all the stuff you will have. It's just a piece of simple paper, but some company doesn't take that initiative to give a clear idea about how they really want to do. So don't complain me if they don't give. But, see, this is a discussion I had with your manager quite last time while I was in STB. They don't give any documents. Okay. So this is the main activity. I'd like to have a simple edit text so that it is displayed for logging purpose. Some of stuff I really don't like. And each and every constant, every word I'm going to use in XML or in Java, I will do it through this values folder. Because I have an add-on exercise along with this project, I want to release a Spanish version also, not only the English version. So we'll start from the beginning because we'll keep everything in a single file so that I can easily migrate that text into a different language. So for that purpose, wherever the English words coming, and I'm going to define through here and then use it in my application. So even though slightly a tedious work, we'll never mind, we do it. Is my assumption. That's a relative layout. Text. The input type, I want to make it is a number. This is very important because the pin should be a number. Okay, that probably I'll programmatically control the user. What if the user types more than 4 digits longer? We need to tell the user should not type more than that. That probably I'll do it through the program. Center. Going to need a button. Okay, I'll go with my linear layout, which will do the job quite easily. You may notice I'm starting to follow some sort of naming convention here. Pin underscore edit mean it is something to do with edit text for that. So a kind of ID for BTN means it's going to be for a button. It's maybe just a guidelines for you. Let me see how things goes on. Ow. Need to keep it center. That's fine. And I'd like to give a slightly elevated look and feel. So I always keep my HTML color code window open, just a small website. If you notice this website, I'll show you it off. I keep this website always open because it has a various option to pick my own color, so I can directly get the color codes, and I'll use it in my application. So I keep this window open always, so I can get back some sort of color code I'm expecting, so I can directly type here. I really need a kind of a gray color, which is often I know, which is called DED. Okay, slightly grayed out. Layout margin will give a outer uh, space. Okay, I think the color difference I could barely notice, but there is some sort of difference. And material design give me an option called elevation, slightly a bumpy one, slightly will give you a thickness to your surface. It won't work in lower end version, but if support package is already in place, it will still work. So maybe 2 dp. Notice it's slightly elevated on top, and your pin could be enter and it could be backwards. We'll see how things goes on. As I said already, I'm going to give some sort of importance to this time on design, not only the process or the backend part. I really want to please your managers with a neat looking app, even though it doesn't work. We need to make sure it looks pretty cool so that the initial impression would be good. So I may be spending time a little bit to get a kind of a desired look. Okay, giving a kind of expected result, but still fine. In your case, the software keyboard will pop up and we'll end up typing that. If any bugs or anything noticed, you have to submit the, you need to put a bug report and stating that something is going wrong. If I notice the quality team will put a bug stating that if I release this project, they'll say the software keyboard is hiding the pin edit text. Because if the software keyboard comes, it will come up to this place. So eventually it may hide the login button, and sometimes for a smaller phone it may hide totally. That particular view may not be even visible as expected, but let us give the job to that testers also, so that they'll come and investigate and they'll give you a bug report. So that we'll do it at the later point of time. But still, I'm not pretty convinced for this design. Looks pretty bold. In menu, I'm going to give you an option to register. So if room, instead of settings, I'm going to make it register. Some menu is going to be action. So the menu will be always visible because I have given a if room. And let me slightly adjust the layout. This thing I'm not comfortable. Linear layout has taken the entire space. I'll probably do one thing. I'll have one more linear layout. May not be a good design. Let me see how this is looking. This looks somehow convincing. Slightly bumpy and still a kind of a box based design which gives us so that user will let him type pin and login. Pin will give a gravity to center so that the scroll bar appears at the center. So let him type. Okay. We'll see it how things goes on. Something went pretty wrong. Action. Seriously, I don't see anything else. I really don't see much changes though. Here I do notice some changes. Width, height, elevation. Oh, that background. Oh my god. What? Some are good. Something. So let the user type the link and he can press it and he can get into it, and we got a register so that the user can proceed registering as well. Okay. So to register, the user has to at least enter the default key, this one, to register himself, and then he can proceed logging. So that feature we will come back to it a little later. So let us first create the register screen. So what are all the features we are going to keep? Register, user can add his photo. He can add his first name, address, male, female, and of course the new pin. The pin should be asked twice, and the email address. So this thing he has to enter. The photo can also be picked from the phone camera or from the gallery. So he can attach the photo to this registration form so he can personalize his application. Slightly bigger work, but let's see how we can do that. As of now, I don't see any requirement to keep a fragment in place. So I still may need an activity to do the job. So let me create. I think one thing I forgot to show you, there was an option to set an hierarchical parent. Uh, Maybe when I explain the next activity. It's nothing but the activity placed as a child to one activity. Automatically the back button, everything would be put. So you don't need to override the action bar, give a home button as up, enable something. You don't need to do that. Will be automatically put for you. But anyway, since I created, we do it. So activity register is going to contain a, let it be a relative layout. Just the activity register is going to contain a longer form according to my understanding. So it will be advised to keep it inside a scroll view. A scroll view having a limitation, it will only accept one single node or a layout inside. So that we can keep. Scroll view not necessary to have a hide match parent, because scroll view is going to only take when a content is going to overflow your available screen space. So it will automatically elastically increase when it touches at the end of the screen, automatically put the scroll bar. So I'm going to cover it. I'll prefer a relative layout. I'll let you know why I need this content. So first name, what are the things we want actually? First name, email, those things we'll keep it in the left and the right. Okay. I'm keeping a linear layout. Keep orientation horizontal. So in the left bar, there's going to be the first and last name. In the right hand direction, there is going to be a image of the user, and everything is going to have a slightly bumpy surface like material surface. So I'm going to separate them as individual blocks. So first thing, this linear layout is going to contain this way. Before adding anything, I'll have my parts completed. Linear layout is to separate each block, and three times. Thanks. Transparent web content. So one image view which is going to hold your icon. Match parent. Maybe I can give a. Okay, that's the size of the image. Anyway, we are going to give a layout weight. So width, I need to keep it. It should come inside. Time being for testing. Okay, I don't have any image for testing purpose. You see this thing. Okay, something has terribly gone wrong. Relative layout, and this having a width, height, and having a width. Sorry. Relative layout is going to be okay. So two edit text and one image view. To start with, doesn't look perfect because I had to add a hint. So this one linear layout is going to have the slightly the same material background for a card which we added here. So I'm going to take it from here. Crafty stuff we don't want. Margin we need. Keep a lesser one. TP. Margin is outer surface as we know. Wait. This is not looking good. I'll do one thing. Start off this one. Some sort of break be added. one. Okay, I probably need some image as a placeholder. And take this image icon. Let's see. Okay, so that's also a kind of slightly elevated, some sort of things also there, but I really want to have. Okay, now looks fine. So let the user enter first name, last name, and click on the image. We'll open the camera, take a picture, or go to gallery, pick the picture from here, and attach a camera. Sorry, user icon here. So now time to add the texts. This is a really boring one. Okay. As we have a practice, edit text hint may disappear any point of time. For example, sorry, hint. This is perfectly fine still, but assume the user starts typing. This particular hint will disappear. So anytime if we want to see that what he is really typing, he may not be knowing. So it is always advisable to keep labels or text views above the edit text so that the user always see so which form he is actually using, and accordingly he can enter that even though the hint will still available to guide him. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach which is orientation vertical, so we don't need to worry about it. We'll start maintaining some sort of colorings so that we slightly give a better guidance. I seriously don't like without a margin. See that size of your images also automatically gets adjusted thanks to uh, a layered weight which will automatically adjust it. We'll keep a margin, sorry, inner space I want for edit text. I'll keep it 5 dp. So the text slightly starts giving some sort of margin, the user can start typing over here. And these labels, the text, I want to keep it in slightly a green color. So what's the color code for my green? Prefer a slightly darker color. Okay. So I need to do a lot of work here. This color code, I think there's an option here. it's a latest addition in your Android Studio. You can still change it if you are really not fine with that. So any basic color you can pick and change that. Okay, before that, I'd like to test how these things are looking. So let me go to activity main. Assuming the action bar is already putting my register menu. So let me try to launch it here. Okay. So let the user type his first and last name, then let it go. Okay. So this slightly kind of a surface gives us some sort of different look. It will look much better in a high definition form, HD forms. So maybe slightly blurred because I'm still using some sort of an screens, even though it's LCD, the screen is not much good. Okay, so let me extend it further. I'm going to need a pin number and maybe gender classification and everything. I'm going to need it as a block. So let me further add them. So this relative layout, I'm going to keep this linear layout always on the top. Line parent. So I'm going to need ID for this because remember relative layout is a root tag for all the view, but still the relative layout has been wrapped inside a scroll view. Um, say header. Sorry. Okay, header. So this linear layout ends here. Below to this, I'm going to need a couple of group blocks because I'm keeping a kind of a block environment. So I want to block everything so that I'll give a common background between them. The second block I want the change pin number. So the linear layout. This may be unnecessary, but if you do not use any backgrounds, but I feel this adds some sort of later I may merge it to a kind of, because this is the current design on the material, like it looks like a cards, so everything comes as a group of environment. So now this layout is going to be below to maybe, of course it's going to have its own ID. Pin layout. I'm going to need to edit text. Any edit text available? Hint I'll come a little later. Okay, so how these guys are going to look. So this is a second group where the pin number would be entered. I'm going to need some text views, so I'm going to go to strings. So the same we are using here as well. Okay, when this is one group, another one I want to keep. What else we want? Gender classification. We'll keep it. Same rule. Everything is a block for us. So group of linear layout is going to be there. What do we do this time? I want to introduce a new one instead of radio buttons. Pretty old. We'll use a spinner. Spinner nothing but it's going to look like a pop-up again. Sorry, drop down again. But drop down design keeps changing here. Uh, as of now, it looks like as if it dropped down, but previously when I tried to click the spinner, it was throwing a pop-up kind of thing. So it was occupying the entire screen. The spinner can display array elements, so it is going to need an adapter. It's same like a list view, but it's a floating list view. Only appears when required. Second. Gender. Spin. Okay, layout, spin, and of course I'm going to need a text view. So, okay, need to go there. Oh, I need to give a below above stuff. So it's actually below header layout. It's not actually below the header layout. We have to keep it below the pin layout. Okay, we put that. So here the spinner will appear, but even though just putting some sort of placeholder for me. So I think edit text are touching the corners, which I don't prefer most of the time. Okay, at this point at least we'll test it, how things looks. So if you notice, a kind of drop down is ready to be displayed. I think I added as a text here. Should have been. So after gender, probably what we have, email address, and is there anything we require? Phone number. So that's very important because it's a SMS replier. Okay, just proposed. This is where I'm going to need one more block. I think the similar one I can take it from here. Email and phone as a group. It's going to be below gender layout. Quite an ID, sorry. Suggestion given. This is fine. ID pin 2 1. Okay, all looks fine. Okay, this group is done. The final one, we will have the submit button. Submit button, I just want to keep it as it is. I don't want any kind of elevated surface on the top. So just below this one, I want to keep the submit button. Keep the color always green. It's going to be below the email layout. A simple registration screen. Text hint is showing wrong. Okay, it's an input type. I can put it as a text email address so that the @ symbol comes in our software keyboard. This is input type. I'll keep it as phone, so that number pad appears. Spinner, okay, fine, we'll do it later. This is spin, and input type number. One second. Number password. Just star appears, so we don't display that. This one. Okay. IME option, input software keyboard option. For example, the user not necessary to tap on the edit text to get the focus. If you put action next, so when the user completed, there will be a next button in the software key. So when you click, it will automatically shift the focus to another edit text. So when the user done with this edit text, he can go back and add a here. So when he is done with that, another next will take the user to this one, and subsequently here. Spinner, it depends on, because the user is not going to use a software keyboard. Probably the edit textures would need a focus. And this is the final one. So instead of action next, action done, completed. And that software keyboard will automatically dismiss, and the user will see the button. You may enable the software keyboard to see the feature. Maybe tomorrow I'll show you how the focus could be shifted rather than dismissing the keyboard or tapping on the particular edit texts. So that particular focus can be shifted between all. Okay, looks like my elevation is too high. Let me see the 1 dp how it looks like. Doesn't make any change. It's actually dp or just number. Okay, so if I see it. So it doesn't make much difference if I keep 1 or 2. Okay, so we have a scroll bar. So let the user can enter whatever detail he wants. Gender will populate it. When he's done, the registration completes, and tapping on the photo should take the user to a camera or gallery, so that he can pick the picture from here and attach it here. So that is possible using intents, which you can explicitly call from your application to another application. Remember, the gallery or camera are nothing but an apps, but it's a different apps. Those apps are written by some other vendor, maybe Google themselves, Android engineers themselves, or maybe some other app you may be using. So tapping it, it will search for a relevant application. In this case, I'm going to check in camera as well as gallery. So you'll be given an option to pick from it. What we can do, once the user tap on it, will display a context menu stating that pick from camera or gallery. When the user click on camera, he will be automatically the camera will open. He can take a selfie and then he can add it over here, or he can choose his own images which is already there in the gallery. He can pick it and put it here. So that's the part we are going to work next, and ultimately it helps us to learn about camera, how to handle camera and the images in your application. And other than this is pretty standard one, first name, last name. I prefer to save them in the preferences, which we already know. Gender, I'll do one thing. I'll finish the gender though, so that the drop down how it looks like. You see that. There is an option to create a string array in the value itself. I just defined that so that male female alone, so if I can use them, but we need adapters to do that job. Again, spinners, I just want to make sure I have added the ID for my spinner. Okay. So I'll just initialize the spinner alone so that I'll complete the spinner part, so we'll also understand a new widget. Going to need an array adapter. Layout resource. Okay. Android. Layout. Simple spinner drop down item, which I can use it. They have already have a design for us. So get which I'm calling from my resource file. Remember, I think get string array will work still. It doesn't work. Get string array, you are searching, getting the array from your strings folder. That is a string array. So give a r.array.gender array will get the array from there and create an array. You don't need to have a separate array list or something to create for it. But of course, you can use the array list also dynamically created over here. But I want to have a multi-language purpose. That's the reason I kept it under the strings.xml folder. So the adapter is ready, and we are using a layout which is there in the Android system called layout.simple-spinner dropdown item, and we are supplying the value through the strings.xml, which is a array type. And I'm not pretty sure whether it's an item or a string, but let's see how things goes on. Gender set adapter. So it's an expected one. Any messages this guy have put? Don't see any log. In this case, I'm pretty suspicious. It could be let me see if the log what it is printing. Oh, 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 oh. Big mistake. I put the code in main activity. In fact, it is needed in the register activity. Okay, I was wondering why. Because the activity register alone contains the spinner, not the main activity. Okay, so if you notice, see, it looks like a drop down which appears there itself. So I can choose the male, female, gender over there itself. So it's like a kind of a, it's still a floating pop-up only, but it gives you a feel as if a kind of a drop down. I think that I can force the drop down. There is one option. There are a couple of designs available to give you a simple drop down item one line. Couple of things are available. Scroll tag, chapter. A couple of customization option available. Okay, we'll come back to it. Set layout, mode, parameters, transition. Okay, that I'll probably come back to it later. So let me see how this is looking. Simple spinner item. That previously I had put simple drop down item. It's slightly kind of uh, maybe the previous one is pretty good, had some sort of margin added. It's too narrow. I'll go with the previous design itself. Of course, you can have your own designs created. Simple spinner drop down item. So afternoon, first you need to create this. I want you to merge everything with the preferences so that it can be saved. So once you are done with that, morning I'll connect with the real login and I'll introduce the camera thing so that you can also save the image of the camera as well as gallery. Then we'll complete the registration part and validation part. So afternoon session you have to just complete the same design, but you have to go ahead one step and adding this whole part, whatever it is maybe, gets saved in a preference manager. So when it is saved, forget about the image because the image part I'll tell you how. So at least all the details should be saved. When the user click on register button, he is going back again and then he can validate himself and see the SMSReplier activity which is going to come next. That's where we are going to keep. And you also need to add couple of toast if the user enters a wrong pin, and register should be allowed only once. When the user registered already, any attempt to click the register should not directly take the user here. He should validate himself with the newly created PIN number, then only he can see it. So that's a requirement. If you could finish it afternoon, fine. If not, yes, I will write it tomorrow. So first thing what we have come to know today is one, having a standard layout technique. I put the scroll view and group the uh, input fields or edit text under some sort of a background system. Maybe next I will slightly modify the font also, because this font I really don't like. It's something looks giving me a very age old look and feel. And icons and all the stuff also I may introduce. Second, we come to know what is spinner, and we also come to know how to move the focus between the edit text. So we added IME action so that the user can keep shifting his focus from the software keyboard as he type. uh, I think this emulator does not have a software keyboard, but you can create one emulator with a software keyboard on board. I think couple of your machine already have it popped up, so that will change the focus accordingly. Later we saw the spinner, the adapter, and of course this time we made sure this particular thing called from the strings.xml file itself. So it's a very small step, but we are just inching ahead to create such an application. So next part, we are going to learn how to handle the camera of your Android phone and how to handle images in your application. Not only to that, when I have to handle the camera, when I have to handle the gallery, I need to find a solution to save the image which I picked it. So I need to find another way to save the image, because the preferences cannot hold that much memory. So I'm going to introduce one more thing. Save the image into a folder. You create your own folder in a SD card, and in that SD card you save the image. So we'll also going to know about how to handle the SD card memory. So this particular form will take us the three different new concepts. So far we have seen the spinner alone, and next part we will see how we can handle the camera. Okay, so afternoon you can complete this. I'll publish the source code, and if possible try to integrate with the preferences. If not, I'll do it in the morning session tomorrow.